Today I'm going to give a book talk on Divergent by author Veronica Roth. It's the first in a series, the Divergent trilogy. There's two more, Insurgent and Allegiant are the final two in the trilogy. I recommend this book to anyone who likes action, science fiction, and page-turners in particular. It'll also be made into a movie that comes out this March. The first book will be made into a movie. So it's always better to read the book before you see the movie because the book is always better except for Catching Fire. But I know that I have a different opinion than a lot of you here. But The Hunger Games is actually not a bad comparison, and you can even kind of see by the art on here that it kind of mimics the Mockingjay logo that's there. But Divergent, like Hunger Games, has a similar dystopian setting. Instead of being set in a big area like the Hunger Games is, this instead is set in sort of a post-apocalyptic Chicago. We don't know exactly what's happened, but there's been some sort of disaster. I think climate change is a part of it because Lake Michigan is more like swamp Michigan. You can kind of see it on the cover a little bit, and they talk about a large swamp that would be kind of on the coast, which would be Lake Michigan. Also in Chicago, they have the L. It's a train that runs around their public transit. It's still running, but now you just have to like hop on the roof. It won't slow down to pick you up. So only the most fearless people in the city dare to ride on it. But Divergent's written in the first person. It's narrated by Beatrice, who is a strong, adventurous teenager who has to make a really important choice, and that's kind of the first big issue that comes up in the book is this choice. It even says, one choice can transform you on the cover. But imagine if in just a few years you had to make a decision about what you were going to do for the rest of your life, and you had no chance to kind of change your mind. I know a lot of you have a hard time deciding what to read or what to eat for breakfast, so just imagine having to make a decision that would affect the rest of your life when you turn 16. In the world of Divergent, what's interesting about it, the world is divided up into 5 different factions that are based on personality. So there's a faction based on honesty, one on selflessness, on wisdom, peace, and bravery. Beatrice grows up in the selflessness faction, and it's pretty much the most boring faction in the world. They wear gray, they're not allowed to look in mirrors. All these things kind of combine to make them really pretty dull. But when each citizen turns 16, like I mentioned, they can choose whether they want to stay in the faction they were raised in, or if they want to try to join one of the other ones. Divergent is the first in a trilogy, so don't read it unless you plan on reading the rest of them, because the ending to this is really unsatisfying. I haven't read the second or the third book yet, but I do know that if I didn't know that there was a second and third book, I would have been upset by this ending, because it isn't much of an ending at all. They leave it wide open for a sequel. Otherwise, I really couldn't put this book down. I read it while I was in Chicago, actually. I didn't realize that the book took place in Chicago, but I was there for a wedding, and I actually told people that I wasn't feeling well, so I left brunch early and went to finish the book. That's how good it was. So, highly recommend it if you love action and you love science fiction, and I think it would be a good choice for all of you.
I fantasize about this back in Chicago. Mercy, mercy me, that mercy will I go. That's me the first year that I blow. How you say